All right, so let me share my screen. Sorry. All right, hello everyone. Let me get here and press present. All right, guys, so welcome. I am going to teach you all about how to get 48 couple portraits in 8 minutes with one lens. So before we really get started, I am Michelle Harris. I am the owner of M. Harris Studios. I started photography in 2015. And then I also started my associate team, Layla Chanel Studios, which is named after my oldest daughter. Over here on the left, that's almost as tall as I am. And if you can't tell by that picture, I am almost 6 feet tall. I'm 5'10". So I'm not okay with the fact she's already almost my height. But in 2017, she told me that she wanted to be a photographer too. So I made an associate team and named it that. Now she will be 13 in like a month. And now she wants to do IT and whatnot. So I don't even know if she's going to end up doing photography or not, but we have the team already established. So I'm also the creator of the Hustle Vault, which is a monthly membership for wedding photographers where we have education inside. And then obviously I'm a mother of two. And I am obsessed with all things cheese. So, and I mean like all things cheese except nacho cheese, like the fake cheese product cheese. But any of the other cheese, I am obsessed with and I love. And I just want to give you all a heads up. I have this cute little background here, but I had some car trouble this morning and ended up at a car shop doing this presentation. So hopefully I won't have any interruptions because they very generously let me borrow their office in order to do this while they help me with my car. But I just want to give you a heads up if I have any interruptions, that is why. All right, so I am a Sigma ambassador. I love all things Sigma. The way that I even became a Sigma ambassador is that by meeting them at WPPI, and I already had like 7 or 8 lenses, and they were like, "Whoa, you already have a lot of these," and we went from there. So I've always been obsessed with Sigma since the very beginning of my career. The first lens that I ever got was a 35 Sigma art, and I absolutely adore it. So if you want to, this QR code here, go straight to my Instagram. If you want to check that out, the information is there. So what we're going to go over today is not a regular wedding day. Okay, we're not talking about where the timeline is executed perfectly, which is extremely rare. We're going to talk about what is more often to happen than not, which is where everything runs behind. Everyone's 30 minutes late, things are all over the place, and people are just just scrambling. Most of the time, that's what happens. Because at the end of the hour that you have the cocktail hour, in order to do all the photos, you have to do the family photos, the bridal party photos, and then we're gonna get to the couple photos. Most of the time, you have a rushed 10 minutes at the end where the wedding planner is like, all right, come on, we have to hurry up, we have to get them to reception, people are hungry. That's what we're talking about. Because if you learn how to execute this, then you will easily be able to do this in a whole bunch of different locations around the venue and have a whole bunch of different variety. So when it comes to engagement sessions, in order to get this whole process down, when it comes to your clients, having your clients already know what's going to happen, the engagement sessions are really important. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, the engagement sessions are complimentary, just so that when clients say, oh, can I take this out so that I can save some money? They say, oh, well, it's complimentary, so you could take it out if you want to, but it doesn't change the price. In reality, what you should want to tell them is no. Well, that's what I tell them. No. Can I take out the engagement session? We already did one, or we have some from our proposal. My answer is no, but this is why. It is incredibly important that I meet you before your wedding day. Okay. I want to not just meet you, I want to actually take your picture. I want to figure out if you have a good side, if you have a bad side. Any insecurity, all the things that I need to know ahead of time. I don't want to have these conversations with you on your wedding day. I want to already know these things. And the only way for me to know these things and for you to really know what's going, like what the product is, the end product is going to be, is by us doing this engagement session prior. So when you communicate the value to them, of them knowing your poses before the wedding day, that type of thing, and what they can get out of it, then they'll be like, okay. Because otherwise, if they're just looking at it as, oh, well, this is just another time where I have to go get dressed and I have to take off work and I have to do this or whatever, that type of thing, just looking at it as an inconvenience. But when you say all of the value that they're going to get out of it, then they will understand. So that's how I move to make sure that I get as many engagement sessions as possible with these clients so that I can do this process I'm about to teach you. But there are also exceptions. There's like military and those who, won't even be together before the wedding, that type of thing. There are exceptions. But in general, this is how I make the moves. So at the engagement session, the very first thing that I do is have a conversation with the clients. As soon as I get to a place where I'm like, okay, this is where we're going to start, I put my bag down and they put all their things down, they empty out their pockets, that type of thing. That's when I'm like, okay, so we're going to have a conversation because there's a couple things I need to tell you that's going to go throughout through the entire session. So the first thing I need to know is, do you have any insecurities that I need to know about, anything that you want to hide in your photos? Now, the reason that this is one of the first questions that I ask is because it gives me permission to address them without making them more insecure about them. So if I were to say nothing and we just start shooting, and then I notice that as they're laughing or talking or whatever, they sit back and go something like this, and I'm like, oh, you don't want to do that. You want to go forward. Now, even though I'm helping them at that point, they're probably going to still be grateful that I noticed, but it's still going to make them feel insecure about the fact that I noticed that. But if I ask this question from the jump, then that gives me permission to address it because they say, oh yeah, please make sure I have this terrible double chin or I have this or that or whatever it is. That makes it easier for me to say, oh, okay. Remember you told me we want to watch out for this, so we're going to change it up. So that's the first conversation that I have. Ask them that. And then I tell them, now, and also throughout this entire process, I'm going to speak as if I am speaking to a heterosexual couple, there's a man and a woman, but this whole process works the exact same regardless of the genders that are involved. So, and you'll see how it does not matter whatsoever who the couples are that this process goes through. But I'm going to act as if it's just a man and a woman so that I could go over the two different things that I would tell the different sexes. So if there is a man here, I'm going to tell him first, hey, there is very little that I need you to do today. You have one job, and your one job is to put your hand in the pocket, in your pants pocket. That's it. Because the other hand is going to be holding her hand, holding something like that. But if your hand is ever just out, put it in your pocket. That also makes them relax. On top of the fact that it makes everything look good as you're shooting. They're like, oh, okay, I could do that. I could just put my hand in my pocket. That's an easy thing to do. So they start to relax because men naturally at engagement sessions have no idea what they're doing. Most women don't, but at least we take a lot more pictures than men. And so their main concern is that they're going to let their partner down. So if you let them know all they have to do is put their hand in their pocket, that makes them relax some. I'm probably going to ask them to do a couple more things than just that, but we're going to start off that way so that they can get relaxed. All right, now, and for the woman, I let them know that there's going to be a lot of times where they're facing each other, that they're going to need to shift their weight. So if when women are standing straight up, women can, first of all, humans can shift their weight, right? So they can either shift it one way or the other, or one way or the other. Now, if they shift their weight away from the camera, what happens is their knee closest to you, the photographer, naturally bends, and it takes their waist away from the camera. And even as you can see in this presentation, if I go further away, I become smaller, right? So if they take their waist and it goes further away from the camera, it's going to be smaller. That also gives them the opportunity, if they wanted to, felt like they needed to, if they wanted to suck in, they could without making themselves bigger. If they shift their weight towards the camera and then try to suck in, it makes you bigger. So that is a whole process that I show them. Not only do I show them there, I also tell every single bridesmaid about this little weight shifting trip because it makes them so grateful, because most people don't give people tips on how to pose themselves at weddings. They just say, stand there and hold the flowers. But if you show them how to look great, they will remember you forever. And then maybe they'll hire you for their wedding. But yeah, so I go over pockets and weight shifting, and then as they walk at different points in time, they'll hold hands, different things like that. But for the female, I'm going to have her try to put one foot in front of the other. I know there are people who recommend saying, oh, pretend you're walking on a tightrope. I have found that to be where they focus a little bit too much on trying to make sure they're absolutely straight. And I don't think that's really important. As long as they're trying, that way, as they're walking, we naturally just kind of have our legs like this. But when they start crossing their legs like this, then you're going to catch a longer leg, which makes them look slim and gives them a shape. There's a whole lot for their body. So tell them that. And then I let them know that I am going to also tell them to kiss, which sounds self-explanatory, except it isn't. Because when you tell couples to kiss, they turn and they go straight forward, right? So their noses touch and bend in a little bit, and then they pucker their lips. So their faces end up looking like this. And it's really not that flattering on anybody. So what I always teach them is the almost kiss is where the woman is going to turn their head towards the camera, and that's so that we can see all the lashes, the makeup, all of that type of things. And then the man is going to turn the other way. And it's not like super dramatic turn, but instead of going straight forward, they're going to shift a little bit and bring their mouths together. That way, they don't have to pucker their lips to get their lips together, because their noses aren't touching and bending in. They're already sideways. And then they can stop here, they can smile, and then they can kiss right in there. So that is, those are all the things that I teach them. And that's before I pick up my camera, because this also eliminates during an engagement session for them to be like, oh, can we go over here and do this? And I seen this somewhere, and start suggesting things. They won't, because you've already established that you are an authority, right? Like, obviously, hopefully, they've already booked you. They know that you know what you're talking about. But by having that conversation before you even pick up your camera, it shows that you care about how they look, that you're going to pay close attention to little details about what they have going on, and that you know what you're doing. So this is why I have this conversation before I even start shooting. There's a couple other little things that are more like my pet peeves than anything, but there is no reason to unnecessarily touch your clients, okay? So there's a lot of people I've found over the years that would just walk up and literally manhandle their clients and be like, oh, well, put your hand here and touch here, and oh, well, and like, don't do that, okay? There's no need to do that unless you've had to explain something like 3 times, more than 3 times. But if you're wanting them to like shift or turn, all you have to do is say, okay, turn this way a little bit, and they'll turn. Even if they turn the wrong way, you just say, oh, no, the other way, and then they'll turn a little bit. But there's no need to actually physically touch them. Now, I'm not talking about if there's a hair, it's doing a thing, or anything like that that needs adjusting. That's fine. But don't manhandle your clients into poses. All right. Now, also, it is very important for this 48 couple portraits in 8 minutes process to instruct your couples that when you put them in a pose, to stay in it until you tell them otherwise. And that's because I'm going to teach you a whole bunch of different variations that that you can do. And if they are in a pose holding each other and they let go, step apart, and you have to put them back together and then have them do whatever you're telling them, these are precious seconds that we don't need to spend putting them back in a pose. So you got to teach them to stay in the pose you put them in. So I always say like, oh, okay, all right, you can relax, you can get out of that pose. And then we keep moving. Then they let go. And now it is our job when it comes to these men in suits, whether this is engagement session or wedding day, to make sure that whatever it is that you're instructing them to do, that it isn't making their suit come upwards, okay? And make sure that the button, that there's only one button on their suit, and it should be the top one. Doesn't matter if there's two, doesn't matter if there's three, doesn't matter if there's 10. Only the top button should ever be buttoned on a suit. I learned that from a tailor who screamed at me, and I can't ever forget that because of that experience. So I'm trying to make sure that you can avoid having that experience as well. All right, so when it comes to variations of poses, my acronym LASH is exactly what you're going to do. No matter what pose you put them in, the pose you already know, the pose I'm going to teach you today as a part of the flow, LASH will help you to think, okay, they're in a pose, I did this, what else can I do? Okay, so for LASH, I did LASH because I love eyelashes, long, thick eyelashes. And L is for laugh, okay? So there are a lot of different people who will teach you how to prompt them, ask them questions, that type of thing. And you can feel free to do those things if that works for you. I personally don't have time. I tell them to look at each other and laugh. And they do it because they look and they're like, what is she talking about? And they start laughing. They're fake laughing. And then they end up laughing at each other because they're fake laughing or whatever ends up happening. They end up laughing. So I tell them to laugh. And then I've already gone over the almost kiss. So I'm like, almost kiss. And then for S, you can use it for one or both options. You can think to yourself, okay, let me have them smile. So that can be smiling at each other, smiling at you, smiling, looking off, whatever works for you. Or you can do it for like sleigh. So sleigh is like more of the like calm type of just like looking off, real confident type of poses and like facials, faces that they can make will help them to like relax. And you can use S for either one or both. And then H is for heads. So you can think about what they can do with their heads in the pose they're already in. So they can bring their foreheads together. One could lean their head on the other's chest. One could kiss the other's forehead or cheek or that type of thing. Like just think, how can I, with them in this one pose, how can I use their heads to change the overall feel and look of the photo? So this is Lash. All right, so the first thing that I always do at engagement sessions and the start of wedding portrait time is parent pleasers. So I'm going to go over a lot of different poses and things like that, but these right here are the ones that the parents want, right? So what I'll do is I'll tell them to hold each other around the backs of each other, right? So they do this, and then obviously I have the man put his hand in his pocket. That's his job. And then so for the woman, I'm going to have her put her hand on his chest so that you can see her ring. Now, this works as long as they don't have a side. Now, if the woman has a side and she's like, oh, okay, but like this is my side, what you'll do is instead of them holding around the back, she will hold around his arm from the other direction, and you'll still be able to see her ring that'll be right here. So she'll wrap her hands more around his arm like this, and then they'll still kind of be in the same pose. But we'll take the photo in the middle. We just say, hey, you two both look at me, smile in this pose. You're not gonna move, but all right, I'm gonna have her look at him and him look at me. Because here, this is the photo that his mom wants, okay? It doesn't matter how much she likes her, his mom and his parents want that picture over there on the left, okay? And then we have the neutral one in the middle, and then we switch, right? So we have him look at her. They have not moved their feet, took 2 seconds to just say, hey, look at me, do this, do that, boom, we're done. So if nothing else, we got the parent pleasers done. Now you can also, especially if you are a 2-camera shooter, you can really, really quickly and easily, or if you're going to use a zoom, get wide and tight of both of these, or of all 3 of these if you want to. And they don't have to move. You can snap these really, really quickly. Now, when it comes to engagement sessions and starting these off, I typically, right now, I've been relatively lazy. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. And I have been using my 24-70 2.8 Sigma Art lens the entire time. Okay, but don't be like me, don't be lazy. Okay, use different lenses, and we'll go over some more that I use. But that 24-70 also just, it can do all the things, especially if you're outside. Oh, and at 70, outside with a whole lot of space behind them, absolutely gorgeous. All right, so now what we're going to talk about is the pose of all poses. So this is the pose that you're going to do if you get into this 48-8 situation where you have only 10 minutes or less to do all of these images. You're going to start with the pose of all poses. So you're going to pull them out. Say this is a wedding, and you're like, okay, we're only going to have 10 minutes, so we have to pick one location on this venue. So wherever your absolute favorite background is, that's where we're going to have to take all the pictures because we don't have time to move around, because in this time, you don't. So say it is the front of their wedding venue is the background that they want. So you pull them out in front, and then you do the pose of all poses. And then you do the entire process starting from here. So this is the pose of all poses. It is so insanely simple, but you will see how many different images you can get from this one pose, right? Because if I took this, because at this time they love their arch, right? This is the background that they want. This is in Chicago. And so they wanted, this is their backdrop. So from here, all I do is I have them face each other, and you see he has his arms wrapped around her waist. She puts her hand out like on his arm. And in order to instruct that, I just say, put your hand right here. I didn't go manhandle her into this position. And then you pull out the train, and this is it. Now, she is also has her arm wrapped around his neck with the bouquet there. This is the pose of all poses, because if this was the only photo that I got from their wedding, which of course would never happen, but if it was the only photo and portraits that I have, this photo represents everyone except the caterer and the DJ. Okay, you can see the florist work, you can see the suit from the tailor, you can see the gown, the hair and makeup, you can easily see. Let's see what else. And I mean, this is obviously part of the venue, and then the planner would be able to post this photo. So this is the pose of all poses where you're going to start the entire process. All right, so from here, you're going to put them in that pose. Uh-oh, is my internet messing up? It's interesting. Sorry about that picture. I don't know what's happening over there. But okay, so you're gonna put them in that pose, and then you're going to move your feet. So how I'm going to teach you today is if you only have one camera and one lens. The lens that I would use to shoot this entire thing, personally, is I have a 40 millimeter Sigma Art. It's a 1.4. Unfortunately, they did stop making them though. You can still get them from places, but they did stop making them. So if you don't get one of those, I would do this with a 35 millimeter. So I have a Sigma Art 35 1.4. Like I told you, my very first Sigma lens, and you can shoot this entire thing with just that one lens. So we're gonna put them in this pose, and then you're gonna move your feet, right? So you're gonna get in close, and you're gonna do something, and then you're gonna do from above, maybe from the side. There's a whole bunch of different angles that you can shoot the exact same thing when you add in Lash to that one pose where they're not moving, and all of that is in the background. You're gonna move your feet around to take these photos. From there, you're gonna do veil shots. And then this is, if they already have a veil, it's very, very easy to do the veil shots, right? So you'll just like whip around the veil, where you can do like a swoop veil type of shot. You can easily throw this veil on top over their heads and do under the veil shots. You can have someone throw it if someone is out there with you to help with that, but you can do these really, really quickly. Now, even if they do not have a veil, I always have a veil in my bag. It's one of the things that I don't really go anywhere without. Okay. And that's because you can always do a veil shot because they may not want to have one like, hanging off of them, for their pictures or just all day to be bothered with it. Or maybe they don't even have long hair to attach the veil to, right? Because actually, I'm going to scroll all the way back to the very, very beginning here. So this photo here is one of my favorite, absolute favorite under the veil shots. She has a very, very short hair and she did not have a veil, but I had one in my bag. And this photo is one of her absolute favorites. So if I didn't have this veil in my bag and I just threw it on top of them to do this shot, she wouldn't have had the under the veil shot. So I also think that that's kind of like a little cheat code, especially if you're not shooting at the venues that you aspire to shoot at right now. If you do a veil shot, nobody has any idea where you're at. No clue where you shot that wedding. So I recommend getting a very, very cheap white veil. It doesn't need to have any lace on it. It doesn't need to have any jewels on it, nothing like that. Just from Amazon. Very, very basic white veil that you can throw over at any time. So we'll do the pose of all poses, move your feet, we'll do a veil shots. And then from there, I have them walk towards me and I'll say, okay, actually, let's run a little bit, right? Because when someone's walking, their energy is still a little bit lower than once you tell them to not like run, but like kind of like joggish, right? They just have a little bit more movement in what they're doing, and you can see it in like their face that they're running and excited. So it changes up the photo a little bit. And then you're gonna have them walk away from you. Sometimes, especially if you have a wedding planner that is like, we have to go right now. Come on, come on, come on. You can have them walk towards the venue and take those pictures. And then you can really quickly be like, okay, stop right there. And then you can do Lash as they're walking towards the venue. And it may make it so that the planner is not as much on you because they're like, oh, they're coming. I see them coming towards the building. So I'll do that if we get into that situation. And then I'm going to go over some fancier poses. This is if time allows. If you're able to knock all of these out and you have some time, then I always recommend doing these 3 poses I'm going to teach you right now to just add a little pizzazz to the photos that you're getting. All right, so this is a just a small example of how you can quickly move through these, right? So we have the regular pose of all poses here on the left. I threw the veil over them, did under the veil shot. I had them run towards me, and then I had them stop while they were running towards me, and then I had them put their foreheads together right from there, right? And then I was like, okay, let's turn around and walk away. And as they're walking away, I told her, hey, look back and look at me. So this is like a little glimpse into the flow, but don't worry because I have a whole video where I'm going to show you me actually execute this process. So we have time for the fancy poses. These are the 3 that I do. Now I want you to keep in mind that all 3 of these are not for every couple, okay? And not for every situation. So there's some that I will do engagement sessions that I won't do at weddings, and it all depends on what they're wearing and their sizes and their capabilities. Because the first thing I do is ask if either one of them has any back issues. Do not forget to ask this question before asking them to do these things. But for the twirl, I'll only do this at engagement sessions if they have enough movement in whatever they're wearing, like this dress here, okay? So what's really important here is that the man is going to stand his feet shoulder width apart. And he's going to have one hand in his pocket, and then the other hand is going to come up so that she can grab it. And it's going to seem as if she's twirling around, but most of the time for these, I will just have them grab a piece of their dress and just swing back and forth. They don't have to go all the way around because there's no point. Most of those don't end up looking that great. And then you can get more of the options and movement if you only have them doing this, okay? So I do the same thing for at weddings. If they have a long train, and you're going to want to make sure that when you pick up the train to hand to them, most people try to hand them the very, very end of the train. But what happens is if they swing that, what you're going to take photos of is the underneath portion of it. You don't really want to do that. So you're going to want to hand it. So this is the end of the train. You're going to want to hand them the train right here. So it has some fabric where it'll hang down so that when they start swinging it like this, it will really show the train and not the underneath. All right. And all they're going to do is swing back and forth. And I tell them, go like fast, like don't hold back because you really want to have the movement in the bottom of the dress. So when I do this one, I always turn on high speed continuous mode on my camera. That means it's going to take a lot of pictures really fast. And then I'll have a lot of different options when I go to pick the best photo for the twirl. All right, so that's the twirl. And then we have the lift. Like I said, it's not for everyone, but if no one has a bad back or anything like that, what's important is they're both going to face each other straight on. And then he is going to bend with his knees. It's very important. Knees, okay, not back, knees, bend down, and then wrap his arms underneath her butt and stand back up and smile at her. That's his only job. Okay, still very, very easy for him. Now for her, she's gonna wrap her arms around his neck, and then most of the time, now she is much shorter than him. So she didn't end up too much higher than him when he lifted her up. But most times, especially if they're around the same height, that type of thing, when he lifts her up, she's going to be up here. Now, what's really important is that they bring their foreheads together, or their nose or something together, because when he lifts her up, if he's here and her head is all the way up here and it's just high up and he's just looking up, it's a very awkward photo. Okay, you have to make them bring their heads together in order to connect make them connect in this photo so that it looks like romantic. And they can do all the things as long as he can hold her up there, they can smile at each other, they can laugh, they can almost kiss, they can put their foreheads together. There's variations in this. But what's really important is that she lifts the leg closest to you up and she keeps the other one down. Always looks fantastic. All right, so that is the lift, and then we have the dip. So now the dip, I definitely teach people because sometimes they try to do it in a way that they know, like when it comes to like dancing. But when they do it like that, they end up most of the time turning the wrong direction or just doing things a little differently. So I walk them through this whole process. So for the dip, I have the man or whoever is going to dip the other. It's going to stand straight forward with their feet shoulder width apart again, a little bit wider than shoulder width. And then he's going to hold his arm out like this. She's going to put her back right here. Okay. So from there, his job is to wrap his arms all the way around him and then to only bend from the waist over. Okay. That's it. It's very, very important not for them to turn and use their knee to bend, because that means everybody's weight is on their knee. It's not impossible to get done, but it's more likely for them to topple over than not if they don't do it the way that you teach. So it's only the upper body that's going to recruit the muscles in your back to bend and hold the person. So that's all that he has to do. For her, what's important is that we kind of naturally want to hold around the neck. I don't know why, because it doesn't make us actually feel more secure. So you want to instruct her to hold around his waist. He's going to bend her backwards. And when that happens, the leg closest to you has to pop out. And you have to instruct them that they have to point their toes. Okay? Because this, with their foot, will ruin the entire photo. Okay, they have to point their foot forward. Very, very important. From here, they can put their hand on his face here. They have to bring their faces together. Okay. But they can bring their nose together, they can bring the forehead together, they can almost kiss from here. I don't think I'd have them laugh, but I mean, you have some options for as long as they can dip down and do this. You got some options. You can use as much variation as they can handle it. An important note when doing the dip at a wedding, you're going to want to make sure that you pull her train out long before she even dips, so that she's dipping back into a long, beautiful train, because it can ruin the entire photo if you don't have that laid out pretty. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and play the video of me doing the 48 and 8 process really quickly here. Pull this up. All right, I'm gonna figure out how to get you to be able to see the screen. Let me share this. Here we go. All right. So something very important to keep in mind before I play this is, like I have instructed you, I recommend meeting with and doing an engagement session with a couple first, so that they are familiar with the poses, so you can get through them all. Now, this that I'm going to play for you was where I taught this at an in-person event, and I had never met this couple before, never worked with them before, and you can actually see where I have to kind of like I have to repeat a couple things, and I have to just you'll see that I have to go through it a couple times sometimes because they don't know what I'm telling them to do. So this is an example of how to do it when you haven't worked with them. So just imagine if I had before, it would have gone even faster and a little bit smoother. And in this video, I also I used my 40 millimeter that I told you about. I was obsessed with that lens, but they don't make it anymore. But I did the whole thing in one, and I think that's all I need to tell you before. So I'm gonna go ahead and press play. 1 second. And hold it up. Right there. Hold each other in tight. And I want you to shift your weight to the knee again. Boom. Right there. All right, great. Put your forehead together. All right, Lindsay, bring your head this way. Yep, stay right there. Beautiful. All right, close your eyes. Look at me one more time. Look at each other and smile. All right, I need y'all to laugh. It's so funny. So funny. All right, perfect. All right, down. Nope. Actually, put your hand right here for me. I'm gonna focus on your right. Bring your nose and close together for a second. Close your eyes. Right there. Both of you smile at each other. All right, look at me. Smile. Lips. Look at each other and laugh one more time for me. Ha 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 ha. Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna do veil cuff. I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna throw this over your head. Stay right where you're at. All right, bring your noses close together. I'm gonna move your hair back. Smiling, both of you with eyes closed. Get a little bit closer to kissing. Still smiling. Go ahead and kiss. All right, foreheads together real quick. All right, look at each other and smile. Smile and laugh. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. All right. Get this back. Okay, falling out. Perfect. All right, noses close together. And just smile. Right there. All right, gotta turn to husband continuous real quick. Over time. Smiling. All right, Lindsay, look towards me. Kiss her right here. Yep, right there. All right, look down with your eyes. Yep, right there. Oh, keep kissing her. That's sorry. Yep, perfect. One more. Beautiful. All right, now I want you to hold hands. That time, hold hands. And just face me. Put your hand in your pocket. You're gonna hold this bouquet and make sure you hold it right here towards me. All right. You're gonna walk towards me. Bring your suit jacket over. The other one. Yeah. And then put your hand in your pocket from behind. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yep. I want this to be here. Yeah, no problem. All right, perfect. So you're gonna walk towards me, looking at me, smiling, and then I'll have you look at each other. So look at me first. Smile, smile, smile. Look at each other. Keep walking. Keep walking. Stop right there. Bring your noses close together. Yep. Perfect. All right. Well, that's foreheads, and that works. Stay right there. Yep. Put your foreheads back together. Perfect. All right. Just look at each other and smile from there. Gorgeous. Okay. Lindsay, look towards me. Kiss her right over here somewhere. Yeah. There we go. Beautiful. Look down to the ground. Perfect. All right. I want y'all to almost kiss. So get in close. Yes. Perfect. Ooh. Okay. Go ahead and kiss. They actually look beautiful when they actually kiss. Let's do it. All right. So turn around and face that way. Just swing that dress all the way around. Yeah. Fluff it just a little bit, but you're gonna walk, so it's fine. All right, hold hands and walk slowly away. All right, Lindsay, look back at me and smile. Yes. All right, stop right there. Both of you bring your noses close together, right there. Right there. Beautiful. Don't move. Lindsay, look toward this way for me. Yep. Yes, that's perfect. Right there. And look down to the ground. If a kiss on her forehead. Beautiful. Stay right there. Let's bring this veil again. Beautiful. All right. Let's turn off. All right. Turn back around. And swing that dress back around. All right, hold that bouquet the exact same place that you had it before on the side. Oh, that's good. Just leave it, leave it, leave it, leave it. Yep, it's just gonna drag because you're gonna run anyway. All right, so hold hands, same way, look this at me, hand in pocket. And you're going to run this way looking at me, smiling, okay? Ready? All right, run, 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 run. Perfect, that was perfection. All right, and go ahead and go back up there. So we're gonna do fancy poses. Yep. All right, so we're gonna do a dip. So Lindsay, come over here for me. I'm gonna make sure you're right in the middle of the circle here. Yep, come up a step. All right, now what's really important, you're gonna bring your arm out here. She's gonna put her back here. Only with your upper body, you're gonna lean this way, okay, to dip her backward. Yep. Now you're gonna hold on to his lower back, stick this leg out and point your toe. Bring your noses close together. Let's do it. Now it's okay when you go down, make sure it faces me so I can see the flowers. Up, two. Yep, go ahead and hold it. Oh, no, hold on. I have to let this out. As best I have time for. which is not perfect, but it'll get there. Job. All right, ready? Go ahead and zip her back. Yep, perfect. All right, go ahead and stand up. All right, I'm gonna have you come on this side. Looks like, yep, switch. So, yep. Bring this back here. Now, face this direction. I'm gonna give you the flower, and you face this direction as well. All right. Step. No, hold it exactly how I handed you. With this hand right here. Take a step over. Face me directly. Now, take your hand, put it up here. Yep, right here, like over here. Boom. So take his hand as if you're gonna twirl. So like as if you're gonna twirl around like this. Yep, perfect. Now I'm going to give you the end of this. And what I'm gonna have you do is swing it. All right, take that. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna move your body. So you're going to swing it in and swing it out. And you two are looking at each other, smiling. Now unbutton your button. Right there. Housekeeping things on. Actually, John, you can get a little bit closer to her. Yep, right there. All right, ready to smile at each other and throw that dress, girl. Yep. All right, Lindsay. So you have it high. I want it a little bit lower. So look right in here. You're gonna hand her something different. Yeah. That. There we go. Yeah. All right, ready. 1, 2, 3, swing. Yes. All right. How many minutes am I? Am I done? I think I'm done. You are. Boom. All right. We did it. All right. All right, so to review all of this all over again, if you want to a million times, if you scan the QR code that I have right here, this will give you free access to my online recorded version of this, as well as you'll be able to rewatch the video that I just showed you as well for free. So if you want to go ahead and scan that, I'll leave that here for a minute. And then I had some questions that were sent in before we even started. So I'm gonna try to answer some of those. And then if any other ones come through from the live right now, I'll answer those as well. So let's see. The first one was, are there any ways to creatively pose couples when one is taller than the other or one is heavier than the other? So these are two very different situations, but the much taller versus shorter, the only thing that you can, there's two things that you can do. One, try to have them sitting as much as possible. It's pretty obvious, and you can add Lash to it. Maybe just have them sitting in different places in different ways. So you can have them where they are sitting in one place just side by side and just kind of like leaned on each other, that type of thing. You can have one where, one is sitting on the other's lap, and you can do Lash from there. And then you can do one where if they're sitting side by side, I always have the woman have her legs, both legs, go over one of his legs and cross her ankles. And that changes the dynamic of the sitting. You can do that. And then there's always the one, whoever is taller, you're going to have further back. So like we talked about, where things are bigger up here and smaller here, right? So if you have the shorter person closer to you and then the taller person behind, that's what you would do for like a walking shot. So if they're walking towards you, you'd have one lead the taller one. The shorter one lead the taller one. So that way they would seem like they're more around the same height, or just not as dramatically different. But it all kind of depends on their and how they feel about it too. Like some of them don't really care about them being that different of height, especially if it's a really short woman versus with a man. So a really, really tall person. Either way, that's how you can combat that. And then it said, And then so heavier than the other, there's only so much you can do if one is dramatically heavier than the other. I would do the exact same poses and things that I have gone over. I would just try to make sure that I shoot from above more often than not. And that's the same for even if they were both heavier on the heavier side, just shooting them both higher up as opposed to low as much as possible. Then we have another question that was, is it bad is it bad to use different lens brands when shooting weddings? And absolutely not. So you can use either, it doesn't matter. If you are going to start shooting a wedding with Sigma and end up with your native Canon camera brand, that's absolutely fine as well. It really doesn't make a difference which ones you switch it to. And then also, I have is, do you have any tips on beach shots? For beach shots, I mean, it really depends on how you shoot. Because like it doesn't make a difference when it comes to posing. So tips on beach shots. How I shoot is I try, depending on what's going on, I try to have their backs to the sun almost always. I don't care if we're on the beach or not. And then I expose for their skin tones. But that's just how I do it. Other people would use lights and all these other things. But I'm not teaching on lighting right now. So let me see if there's anything else about posing. What is the oh no, that's not posing either. And then I can go back and answer other questions that are not posing after I go over these. How much of your time is spent planning, preparing, shooting, post-processing, and following up with couples? Okay. Also not a posing question. But I don't know how to even answer that, how much of my time is spent. I still I have a workflow for everything. I'm extremely organized and have a process from A to Z for all of the things. So how much time is spent is kind of hard to tell you that. And it's always different. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't really have an answer for that other than I just have a process for everything. I don't know how much time is spent per se. Which Sigma lens emount is an essential for wedding and event photography? An essential, I think the 24-70 because it's a 2.8 and the range that you can get of really wide shots of weddings and events and how you can get pretty close without moving is really, really clutch. So that's my number one recommendation is the 24-70 Sigma Art 2.8 for wedding and event. If you only had one, that's what I would use. Are you using ambient lighting almost exclusively? No, I switch things up and it always depends on where I am and the options that I have. If I can go and shoot outdoors, I'm gonna shoot outdoors. That's where my heart lies because it just makes me happy. But if you're asking in relation to the video, that it was kind of hard because we had lights on them for the video that were kind of on both sides of the space that I was shooting that I typically wouldn't have if I was doing that. So I would have typically, if it was darker in there and I needed to just light them up, I'm very, very basic with my lighting and I just would have a flash on top with a magma dome that would just kind of spread the light evenly around. That's me, but that's why I don't teach lighting courses. Not my thing. I make things very, very, very simple when it comes to that. Okay, so I think those are all the questions that came in here. Oh, I had somebody ask about editing, my color correction workflow and if it's mixed with mixed lighting, what I do and how much do you get in camera on location and how much do you hand over to post-production? So for me, I use Imagine. I'm obsessed with their AI editing software. This QR code here will actually give you a 1,500 free edits. So I know it says over here, like download to get 1,000, because that's the standard. If you just go to the website, that's what you'll get. But if you use this QR code that I have here, that will give you 1,500 free edits to try out, right? So with the AI system that Imagine has, you have a couple options. If you have a editing style down and you have at least 3,000 images that are edited perfectly to your style, you can upload those and make your own profile. And then the system will continue to learn and continue to learn how you edit, but it'll start to where you can just upload your photos and it will edit them the way that you would have edited them. It's amazing. Okay. Now, also, if you don't have a style and you're still trying to figure it out, there are talent profiles on here. So like I'm one of them. I think there's like 15, 20 at this point. But you can go on the website and see which talent is most like the style that you're trying to end with. And you can run some tests. So you have 1,500 free images. So take 10 images, right? And run it through the top 5 profiles that you see and see what you like the best and do those. That's what I recommend, because this system can do up to 1,000 images in 30 minutes. Okay. So like and they also have culling as well. So if you want to cull and edit your photos in Imagine, you can do all of it in one. And it's insanely fast. I used to wait 7 days to get my stuff back and still had to go through and tweak it. And I run my stuff through the system. I barely have to do anything. You can set it to straighten your photos. You can set it to do light retouching on everyone's faces. It can just make it a little bit smoother. The things that this software can do saves me so much time. It is insane. So I don't spend a lot of time on making sure, one, that I am shooting straight, because the system does it for me. Okay. I don't worry too much if something goes crazy and it's, super dark randomly or something. Or there's a mixture of all, it doesn't matter what it is. I throw it all in Imagine and they always edit it the way that I would edit it. Now, my profile, in order to make this, I had to start with 20,000 images edited in my style. So it took a long time for me to make that. And it's the same for all of the talents. Okay. We all had to put a lot of time and energy into it. But now they work like a well-oiled machine. So that answers that one question about editing. And I actually don't think I saw any other questions here. Let me look at one more time. What is your number one source slash method of attracting clients? So I would say for me, my number one right now is wedding vendors. So like wedding planners. Excuse me. Sorry, give me one second. Sorry, I need 1 second. Oh, uh, oh my God. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, something is in the back of my throat out of nowhere. Give me one more second. Wow. Okay, so that's a first. Hopefully my voice comes back. Mm. I have no idea what happened. Okay, wedding planners. is my number one source of attracting clients. Oh my God, I have no voice. Out of the clear blue sky. Mm. Okay. Wow. The wedding planners are the couples no, number one trusted source for all vendors. Um, People hire their planners so that they don't have to think. They don't have to do wide searches of everything because their planners will walk them through it. So if they trust their planner, they're going to hire them. And then so when their planner says, "Hey, here's a list of my favorite photographers," they are 9 times out of 10 going to pick someone on that list. So that is my number one source of attracting clients, which was wow, making genuine connections with wedding planners, so that they will want to refer me. So that's that. I don't think there's any other questions. Okay, perfect. So, um, sorry about the very end. I do not know what happened to me, but hopefully you got everything amazing out of this class today. And thank you all for coming.